Do we not live in interesting times?
We do live in interesting times.
So we're here in Rome.
Interesting times and Rome. That combo might sound poetic, but it's also prophetic. Once upon a time, the Roman Empire ruled the known world. Power, wealth, dominance, and then it crumbled. I bet the leaders back then also thought they were just living in interesting times.
Is the crisis of the 3rd century. You've got revolts, you've got civil war, hyperinflation, and a string of useless emperors.
Fast forward to today. Our society is facing a quieter collapse. Not on the battlefield, but in bedrooms, phones, and empty cribs. In an eye-opening interview, Vice President JD Vance shares what he's really worried about. And it's not inflation, not China, not even AI taking jobs. It's something deeper.
Now it's time for us to get into this and do what we gotta do. Because we many.
So anyway, I'm more optimistic, I should say, about the economic side of this, recognizing that, yes, there are concerns. I don't mean to understate them. Where I really worry about this is in pretty much everything non-economic. I think the way that people engage with one another, I mean, the trend that I am most worried about, there are a lot of them. And I actually, well, I don't want to give too many details, but I talked to the Holy Father about this today. If you look at basic dating behavior among young people, and I think a lot of this is the dating apps are probably more destructive than we fully appreciate. I think part of it is technology has just, for some reason, made it harder for young men and young women to sort of communicate with each other in the same way. Our young men and women just aren't dating. And if they're not dating, they're not getting married, they're not starting families. There's a level of isolation, I think, mediated through technology, that technology can kind of, be a bit of a salve. It can be a bit of a Band-Aid, maybe make you feel less lonely even when you are lonely. But this is where I think AI could be profoundly dark and negative. I don't think it'll mean 3 million truck drivers are out of a job. I certainly hope it doesn't mean that. But what I do really worry is, does it mean that there are millions of American teenagers who are talking to chatbots who don't have their best interests at heart? Or even if they do have their best interests at heart, they start to develop a relationship. They start to expect that a chatbot that's trying to sort of give you a dopamine rush, that compared to a chatbot, a normal human interaction is not going to be as satisfying, because human beings have wants and needs, right? And I think that's one of the, of course, like the great things about marriage in particular, is you have this other person and you just have to kind of figure it out together, right? But if the other person is a chatbot who's just trying to hook you to spend as much time on it, that's the sort of stuff that I really worry about with AI.
Exactly, Mr. Vice President. We can't seem to figure it out together, even with all this technology, access, and supposed progress. Why? Because marriage has no inherent value, only what society pours into it. And right now, we're pouring nothing. JD Vance wasn't just in Rome to talk politics. He met with the Pope. Once upon a time, marriage wasn't about romance or aesthetics. It was about religion, duty, survival. It was sacred. Marriage meant you build, you sacrifice, you stay. Now, you post, you vibe, you leave. According to Pew Research Center, 62% of US adults still identify as Christian. Sounds solid, right? But in reality, it's cultural Christianity, not committed.
In the last 50 years, marriage rates in the United States have dropped by nearly 60%.
Church attendance is down. Traditional values are hollowed out. Till death do us part has turned into until things get difficult. And the younger the generation, the weaker the tie.
Is marriage dead?
I recently bought a house. I'm 24, I'm single. And so I don't think that marriage is essential for me.
Trying to find someone to make that commitment to is overwhelming, and I'm not sure if I want to get married.
I mean, just to pause there, one of the most, I would say, hardcore critical of illegal immigration think tanks, when I looked into this, had its estimate, I think, in the 10 to 12 million range, right?
So they did, and I think they're undercounting it, because I think they're counting the people that we were aware of I don't think they were counting in that estimate unknown gotaways. They weren't counting certain classes of asylum seekers, of TPS seekers. So they were answering a question as honestly as they could. But I think if you look at the grand scheme of it, it's higher. But look, whether it's 12 million or whether it's 20 million, it's a lot.
It's a lot, and it's only growing because America's immigration crisis isn't just about the border. It's about the birth rate. The U.S. fertility rate is now 1.66, far below the 2.1 needed to sustain the population. Not enough babies, not enough workers, not enough soldiers, eventually, not enough America. So whether you support immigration or not, it's not optional anymore. It's a demographic patch job. But what happens when you rely too heavily on outsiders to keep your empire alive? History already answered that. And you don't need to look far to see it happening. Take truck drivers.
You ever get stuck in your truck, parked for hours, waiting on a load that never comes? Meanwhile, all the mega carriers are telling the world that there is a driver shortage? If you've been out here long enough, you know that's not the truth. It's not that we don't have drivers. It's that we don't have drivers who are willing to work 24/7 in a truck without a break for pennies on the dollar.
For years, we've heard there's a shortage, that America doesn't have enough drivers to keep the supply chain moving. But the truth? We don't have a shortage of people with commercial licenses. We have a shortage of people willing to do the job because the job is broken. Low pay, brutal hours, constant turnover. It's not a worker shortage. It's a retention crisis.
There are now 7 million able-bodied males between 25 and 40 years old that are able to work and are not even looking for work.
So what happens next? Immigration becomes the answer, again.
That technology can kind of, be a bit of a salve. It can be a bit of a band-aid, maybe make you feel less lonely even when you are lonely. But this is where I think AI could be profoundly dark and negative. I don't think it'll mean 3 million truck drivers are out of a job. I certainly hope it doesn't mean that.
If American citizens won't fill the roles that keep the economy running, where do you think the manpower is going to come from? It's already coming from elsewhere. And now, new rules from the Department of Transportation may push even more foreign-born drivers off the road for not meeting English language standards. With 72% of all U.S. freight moved by trucks, the stakes aren't just economic, they're existential. No men, no manpower. No manpower, no productivity. And the system breaks.
From this point, the western half slowly began to fracture. First losing Britannia in 410, and then being reduced piece by piece to just the Italian peninsula and a few neighboring regions.
Rome didn't fall overnight. It fell because it outsourced its strength. Foreign labor, foreign soldiers, foreign values. The Roman identity blurred, then disappeared. Sound familiar?
The real issue here is not trade with Australia. It's not even trade with the EU. It is trade with China. And for national security reasons, the United States must end its dependence on Chinese manufacturing. We can't run our military as things stand right now without goods from China. We can't. China is producing our pharmaceuticals for us. They could cut them off, at any time.
And this isn't just an American problem. Look at South Korea. Lowest birth rate in the world. So low, the government now runs matchmaking events to convince people to date and marry, but it's not working.
These young South Koreans are on a mass blind date. 100 men and women are here hoping to find love with the help of the government.
South Korea will collapse. Yep, you heard that right. At its current rate, Korea is expected to go from a population of nearly 52 million to 34 million, a loss of over 30% in less than 50 years. Over that period, Korea will lose 50% of its workforce and have a median age of 60.
In 2018, radical feminist movement 4B emerged in response to societal misogyny. Some of its supporters don't wish to show their faces. What does 4B, the 4 no's, stand for?
No sex, no dating, no marriage, no childbirth.
It is written like sex strike, but it is not 100% about it. So 4B thing is very Korean, feministic lifestyle, and it is irreversible. we cannot be taken back again.
Radical feminism, career-first culture, and a collapse in trust between men and women have destroyed the desire to build families. And when a nation stops building families, it starts building decline. JD Vance sees it. He's not just talking about immigration, he's talking about replacement, not just of people, but of values, of identity, of culture.
So let me say very simply, I want more babies in the United States of America.
And here's the part no one in power will say out loud. We've already crossed the point of no return. The elites, the corporations, the political class, they aren't investing in families. They aren't promoting healthy relationships. They aren't encouraging men and women to build the next generation. Why? Because they don't need strong families. They need consumers. They don't want citizens. They want workers and voters who are easy to replace and easier to control. They push an feminist agenda that tears the family apart. They tell women that men are disposable. They tell women that wanting a husband and kids is oppressive or outdated. They tell men that fatherhood is weakness and masculinity is toxic. And when society collapses from within, they import the solution: more people from anywhere at any cost. This isn't about love. It's not about justice. It's not even about unity. It's about control, and it always has been. So when JD Vance says young people aren't dating or getting married, he's not just making an observation, he's sounding the alarm. But let's be honest, the government isn't going to fix this. Not because they can't, but because they won't. This collapse isn't just cultural, it's political. It's fueled by policies that punish families, reward dysfunction, and divide men and women. There's no bill coming to bring back commitment, no stimulus check that can rebuild trust, because the people in power, they benefit from the breakdown, and they're not planning to stop it. The empire is rotting from the inside, and just like Rome, no one at the top is planning to save it.
Management, we working. Protect yourself at all times. This video has officially been highlighted.